Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my recap and review of the 75th Golden Globe Awards. The Golden Globes are one of the big shows, the big precursors heading into the Oscar season. It pretty much is the first big precursor that gives us a little bit of feel of the land as we work out who will get nominated for the Oscars and then maybe even ultimately who will win. But in saying that, the Golden Globes are always a big wild card. They don't follow the Oscars all that closely, and they're a whole lot more unpredictable. So let's go ahead and talk about the fashions and the award show at large before we get into the actual winners themselves. So you may have noticed the theme of the night was black, so I dressed appropriately. And so it definitely made judging the fashions and the excitement regarding things like the red carpet a little bit more monotone than we are used to. However, with so many different styles and different ways to dress, of course mostly amongst the ladies of the evening, there are still some best dressed and worst dressed that I would like to highlight here. So starting off with the best dressed list. First of all, I need to just give a big shout out to Viola Davis. It was a very simple black dress with a beautiful necklace, but really what sells her entire look, one, is that glorious hair. Oh my gosh, I just loved her hair, and she was radiant. What kind of magic serum is Viola Davis using on her skin? Because it's radiant. She looked absolutely stunning. She's gorgeous. And although maybe the dress itself wasn't the best of the evening or the most exciting, she still pretty much outshined everyone else because she looked so dang good. I also really enjoyed Saoirse Ronan's whole look. It was, again, another simple black dress, but it had the embellishment on the shoulder and then on the side. And you had the one arm out and then the one full-length sleeve. I just thought it was a very elegant but unique looking black dress. I also think Mary J. Blige looked very nice. I like these dresses that just had a little pop of something. She was very similar, actually, in accent to Saoirse Ronan, with the full-on silver sleeve and then that wonderful silver down the side, as well as the embellishment right here across the neckline. I thought she looked wonderful. Helen Mirren was fully channeling her upcoming Winchester film with a somewhat high-end gothic look. I loved the sheerness up here, but really what accented it was the design that led from the solid black up to that sheer top, and then the sleeves were just so cool and gorgeous. I thought she looked fabulous. I also want to give a shout out to Greta Gerwig. Like Viola Davis, I think it's a pretty simple dress. Not too much going on, not a whole bunch of craziness here. But it's just a well-fitted, nice material, beautiful dress. And her exuberant personality, that beautiful gold necklace, and showing a little bit of skin, it all helped. She looked great. I thought Alison Brie looked really cool. I always think it's a nice touch if you can really pull off an interesting look. And here she kind of combined a dress coat type appearance with the nice slacks underneath. Looked great. I also really enjoyed Allison Williams. It was a very different dress and one that I think could go very, very wrong. But it just worked for me. I don't know what it was. I liked this design up here. I liked the material it was made out of. Just kind of looked cool and different. And then the two guys that made the list, none of them made the worst dressed of the year because, I mean, wearing black for males typically is pretty straightforward. So, there wasn't much variation going on here, even less than usual. But two guys definitely stood out and added some flair to their black attire. The first one is Armie Hammer. First of all, I love that he matched the suede tie to the suede shoes. It was a wonderful touch right off the bat. And then he had this design, this like gray steel looking design on his sports coat that was wonderful. And then Chris Hemsworth, I think, was the best dressed man of the evening. I absolutely loved this suit. The black on black design that was going on was fabulous. I just absolutely loved it. And again, this could have went over the top and corny and cheesy, but it was just enough to make it all pop and stand out. And then you had the black button down underneath with no tie. And it just looked cool, it looked sleek, it was sexy, it was amazing. Just perfect, head to toe. And then my best dressed lady of the evening was Allison Janney. I loved this dress. There is a lot going on this top half, but it is a very cohesive lot going on. I loved the different shapes and the different patterns going on up here with all of these really complementary colors of tans and whites, and then you just had the straight black bottom. The shape of the dress was very simplistic and the material was not too much, and that let the boldness of that top really pop, and I thought it looked amazing. As for the worst dressed of the evening, I love Alicia Vikander. I think she's gorgeous. She's definitely one of my favorite actresses working right now. I just don't seem to ever like her personal style all that much, and that was unfortunately the case here. It was just too covered up, too old school gothic. It didn't have enough fashion in there to not be kinda downtrodden. I feel like I could have really liked Issa Rae's look, but ultimately just too many things didn't work for me. I didn't love the huge diving neckline with that huge high slit. It was just like two severe cuts that didn't go so well for me. I think you gotta choose between that really diving neckline or that really high slit and then keep the neckline a little bit higher. But then you add on to that these really horrible like ruffles up by her shoulder. The dress should have done without those. And then the material was also a little bit off. So that face, that mug was on point. Unfortunately, the rest of the outfit was a mess. My queen, Meryl Streep. Not that this dress is necessarily all that bad, but I feel like I've seen her wear this exact dress to several award shows at this point. And it's a black night, and she could have done something else. She wears this same cut quite a bit, but this exact dress is just too plain little black dress for me, and one I'm pretty sure we've seen her wear on the red carpet, so I wasn't here for it. I also love Natalie Portman, and she kind of stole the night for me, but I hated this dress. I'm not usually a fan of this material to start off with, but then you added in this weird box cut that then turned into like little triangle cleavage. The whole cut of the dress is just wrong. It looks weird, it was very strange, and I thought pretty ugly. And finally, we have Sarah Jessica Parker. I really don't know what she ever thinks, really. Being a fashion icon that really got famous off of one of the most fashionable shows in TV history, she doesn't really seem to have good fashion sense. This was a miss head to toe to me. I think it just looks horrible. All of that lace like stitched in down the front and then like tied into the bottom did not look good. The overlay on the top of the dress didn't look good, and these sleeves were horrible. That they just started up here, like at least have it come up, I don't know. The whole thing was just a mess. So now, heading into the actual show itself, let's kick things off with the host of the evening, and that was Seth Meyers. Was it me, or did we not see, like, any of Seth Meyers? I don't know if that the show just, like, continuously was running long, so he didn't have any bits. But after his opening monologue, he basically was yanked from the stage. But maybe it had to do with that opening monologue, because I thought it was very lackluster. He gave a precursor that it was going to be very political. The whole night would be very political in general. My problem is that we focused so hard over the whole evening, but really the only time it really kind of annoyed me was during his monologue. We just focused so heavy on women's issues. Of course, it started with the campaign on the red carpet. It was addressed several times throughout the film, and rightfully so. If you know me, you know I'm clearly on board with this whole movement. But his monologue was just so stale. He kind of kept harping on it. He would throw a line out to the people, and it didn't really work for me. Of course, there were one or two really funny jokes in there, but I just thought it labored on the same issue over and over and over again. He wasn't really saying anything new or fresh, something we hadn't heard or hadn't thought about, so it wasn't insightful enough to make it sustainable. And then when you just kind of like drag on and on and on about the same thing for your entire monologue, it ran thin for me real quick. But there was a presenter tonight that I'm like, hello, can we get her to host next year's Golden Globe Awards? And that's Carol Burnett. Her and Jennifer Aniston were so funny together, and I really just loved Carol Burnett in general. here tonight. I mean, of course, she's a legend in the television business, in comedy, in show business, period. And she killed it in just that little tiny segment she had. And I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready for Carol Burnett to come on back and host the whole show. But undoubtedly, the highlight of the entire evening was Oprah being presented with the Cecil B. DeMille Award. And the speech that she gave was fantastic. It really was one of the best award show speeches I've heard maybe ever. I thought it was so eloquent, so powerful, and so passionate. And I know people like to give Oprah crap all the time, but she has done so much in the entertainment industry. That's why she received this award. She's a great actress, she's a great producer, she was a great TV show host, and this is actually a self-made billionaire. This is a woman who came from nothing, had to go through a lot of abuses to get to where she is now. And what I do love about Oprah, no matter how much people make fun of her or try to, like, you know, make a cartoon out of her, is that she has made her empire and made herself what she is, uplifting others. She has always strived to be a positive force, and this speech was the highlight of that. She didn't go after anybody. She didn't say anything crazy. She really was there to uplift the audience, and it was a very inclusive, beautiful, well-spoken, amazingly delivered speech. And then the second best moment of the night actually followed right afterward, when Ron Howard and Natalie Portman came out to present the Best Director Award, and Natalie Portman just, like, threw the shade of the year. It was fantastic. After we just had this beautiful speech about women coming up and getting their due, Natalie Portman just, like, zingered right up in there and was like, and now for the all-male nominees for Best Director. And what made the moment even better was poor Ron Howard was not ready. He was not prepared for the fire that Natalie Portman was bringing to that stage. And neither really was Guillermo del Toro. You could tell because he was the first nominee announced. He was like, oh, what do I do? But listen, sometimes you need to get uncomfortable. We need to make things uncomfortable. We need to make people feel out of their comfort zone so we can move forward, so we can actually discuss these deeper issues instead of just fighting this sex battle of the sexes type of war. You need to make yourself uncomfortable, allow yourself to sit in that uncomfortable state, and then analyze. Why am I uncomfortable? Why are they saying this? And what can we do? And I really just loved it. When it came down to the whole women's issue tonight, I do think there were a couple flubs outside of that as well. The main one for me, actually, was Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth's speech. They were really trying to go for, you know, very gender-specific jokes, and it was for a Best Actress category. The unfortunate part was Jessica Chastain kind of flubbed up her lines, so the jokes weren't reading properly, so you weren't really laughing, and then, you know, they would deliver a punchline on a joke that had already failed a little bit. And then my second little bit of faux pas actually, unfortunately, came with Geena Davis and Susan Sarandon, who I love, and who Thelma and Louise has done a ton for feminism in film, and is a wonderful film if you haven't seen it. But for them to go up there and say all of the males in this category, as they presented a Best Actor award, all of these males are going to be giving 50% of their earnings from their work back so that women can make more than them. And again, I think that's just kind of like pushing a narrative that is not the end goal and is a little bit counterproductive to all of the great things that were said tonight and uplifting women. To go ahead and then say something like that and then literally say one of the criticisms that people have against modern day feminism in putting women ahead, we want women to be above men. It just didn't come across all that well. So now, as for the awards themselves, overall, I didn't do great when it came to the movie segment of the award show. For whatever reason, I just wasn't really anticipating the way that it all would kind of unfold. And a big part of that is that I underestimated how much the Hollywood Foreign Press loved Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. So I thought it would definitely win for Best Screenplay. I thought it'd be close, and I actually said I would prefer Lady Bird to win it, but this is still a great screenplay. So that was the one that I had it for sure winning. I then had Frances McDormand and Sally Hawkins pretty much in a dead heat tie, so I wasn't shocked when Frances McDormand went on and won that award. And really the same thing for Best Supporting Actor. I thought Willem Dafoe had a clear lead, but Sam Rockwell was my other one that kind of made it past all the preliminary rounds to get to that final. But there we go, Sam Rockwell went ahead and won. And then we get to Best Drama, and I was really hoping The Shape of Water would win this. I really knew, just based on the nominee list, that Call Me By Your Name didn't have a shot at the Golden Globes, at least. And what I actually find funny is that they put Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri into drama over something like Get Out when it's a dark comedy. So this actually strives to be a comedy and probably should have been in the Best Comedy category, but what you gonna do? So the Three Billboards Love kind of screwed up my list here. I was glad to see The Shape of Water get some love when it came to Best Original Score, because it was my favorite original score of the year, and Best Director because, again, Guillermo del Toro definitely deserved that award. But speaking of Best Picture and Best Director, I already see a lot of people responding to Natalie Portman's statement tonight as, but what female directors would even get nominated? Where were the female directors even? First of all, they don't make up very much of the overall director pool, so opportunity is the first step. But second of all, there was a problem just right within the nominations themselves regarding a female director. So we would see Lady Bird go on to win for Best Comedy. I predicted Lady Bird to win. It wasn't actually my favorite of the films, but I just had a hunch it was going to take it. But the problem there is, you're telling me this was the best comedy or musical, one of your two major categories, but the director of that film wasn't one of the 5 best directors of the year? That just literally makes no sense to me. And then it further makes no sense when you look up at, like, All the Money in the World, which got nominated for Best Director, but it didn't even get nominated for Best Drama of the Year. Like, I just don't get that logic on a very fundamental level. A movie that wins, that in your opinion deserves the win in one of your top 2 categories, doesn't have a Best Director nominee, but there is a Best Director nominee for something that can't even get on the nominee list for Best Picture. Yeah, there's a problem. But speaking on Lady Bird, it did go home with 2 awards for Best Actress for Saoirse Ronan and, as I said, Best Comedy. So in saying that, I actually was a little bit shocked that they lost for Best Supporting Actress. I have Laurie Metcalf as my should win and will win. I thought she was fantastic, and I still think she's a strong contender for the Oscar. Allison Janney won, who I think is very deserving, so no big problems there. And really, most all of the ones I didn't pick to win, I kind of had a hunch, like Gary Oldman, I knew was gonna win, though I was really pulling for Timothée Chalamet. Or Best Song, basically was a virtual tie as well between Remember Me from Coco and This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. I've actually now seen other material from the production of This Is Me that has made me love it even more. And I was so happy it won. I was completely cool with that one. And then we had expected wins from people like James Franco, completely deserved. Coco, completely deserved. So overall, I don't think there were big surprises. There were no big shocks or awe moments when it came to the awards themselves, because everything was in the realm of possibility. The interesting thing now moving forward is that the Golden Globes clearly made Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri one of the top players. When I think coming in, it was definitely a contender, but now it's definitely been bumped up to top contender for awards come Oscar time. All of the Critics' Awards thus far have not necessarily reflected that all the way, but the Critics' Awards also are not that great of a reflection on the Oscars themselves. It'll be interesting seeing the SAG Awards, Writers Guild, Producers Guild, the BAFTAs all coming up, how they decide to treat Three Billboards and these other nominees. And in all, I think this is one of the most wide open fields heading into actual Oscar time that we've seen in some time. I think we'll probably get another split between director and picture, and it'll just be interesting to see how it all plays out. So that is my recap and my review for the 2018 Golden Globe Awards. What do you think of what I had to say? Were you shocked by any of the winners? Were you majorly disappointed with any of the people who didn't take home awards tonight? And what were your favorite moments of the entire production? How did you feel about those fashions as well? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. And if you liked this video, please go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to this channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!